Hey everybody, it's Marty, the JavaScript party. I'm my buddy Rhett here to code. Sue was very excited this morning when I picked her up. Ready to make the most of our movie that we're making. Um, the For some reason my computer's not plugged in, so I should probably do that. But It is Tuesday. It is 7:50 a.m. I have to start work in an hour and 10 minutes. I'm not really looking forward to work today. Um, I did end up, I mentioned yesterday that I was going to do a pull request and it was a little weird. And sure enough, someone has a major problem with it. It's just very, very frustrating because I think that I don't know of any other industry where like literally any person on the team can just stop all progress because of for fully non-practical reasons, just fully abstract ideas that they have in their head. And it feels like that happens on every team. You end up with someone who has a lot of ideas, isn't particularly productive, and like they could look at literally any website on the entire internet and that website does not live up to their standards, and then they try to apply those same standards in their job. And then I think that in general I try really hard to get along with people and I try to communicate really well. And then I think management always comes to the conclusion that, oh, what we'll do is we'll work this guy with that guy, we'll work this guy with Marty, and then and then they'll learn from Marty, like, whatever. And then I end up stuck with these trouble cases, and yeah. So, anyways, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if I'm still employed at the end of today. I just think that with code, the problem with code, here's the problem. You want to know what the problem with code is? The problem with code is like there's no deadline. So, like, let's say I was a paralegal or a lawyer or something like that, and we're having arguments. Like, let's say I'm this lawyer, I've been getting stuff done, I have a track record, I've been going to trial, winning at trial, blah, 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 blah. And then you have another lawyer that comes in and, like, literally all their cases go sideways. They just end up just whatever. For whatever reason, no one really knows why, but their cases just all go sideways. Well, then if you had that other lawyer look at the lawyer whose stuff that is getting stuff done, and then they start saying, no, he has to have the pink resolution slip. If he doesn't have the pink resolution slip in there, we're not going to be able to win in trial, and blah, 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 blah. And then the day the trial's, it's coming. That day is coming. There's no way around it. That trial is going to happen, and you're going to go there, and either the whole trial is going to go sideways because there was no pink resolution slip, or it won't, right? So eventually that day comes, that the day of reckoning comes, and it has to be done. That I've seen PRs languish for 10 years. Like where someone creates a PR, some abstract thinker has a real problem with that PR, and that PR, which is something that people want, just sits there for 10 years and never ever gets pulled in. And yeah, it's just one of those things that's really, really difficult to sort of wrap my head around. And I do blame Agile for that 100%. Like in the Georgia state legislature, what happens is, like, they say, hey, we want to do this law. And then they go, okay, well, since it's this kind of law, we just need a majority. Or if it's a different kind of law, you might need a constitutional majority, which I believe is 2/3. But not one individual can just stop everything. Leadership can stop everything. Like the rules committee, they can stop anything. But like, if they want it, if they want a law and it's coming through, and the governor has funded the studying of the law, and it's been the people who, the drafters, the legal drafters, and all that have created done all the legal things that need to be done to create a law. Just one abstract thinker can't be like, well, I think that we could have a problem with this because of this one issue. That's not enough. But in software development, it is enough, and that is annoying. But, and I guess that's what I think, and I think that that is the one of the main problems in software right now, is that we have sort of these very creative, these people who know how to make words up a lot better than their ability to make code, are able to use their words to prevent people who can write code from being able to write code, and basically chasing people out of the industry. And I do think that that really describes me. You know, like I feel like I'm being chased out of the industry. But anyways, I'm still gonna code because I love coding, and coding is awesome. But it may not make sense for me to do it in a professional capacity. So with that said, we have gotten the mesh service working, or not working, but we have it implemented, and we haven't had a chance to use it yet. And then we're going to the next step is to get the ST side. So the ST side is where I want all the logic that sort of describes what the application wants built. And the 3 side is where all the logic that actually tells the 3 API what it wants is going to live. So now we're going to go to the ST side. So the ST side is empty. Now with the 3 side, I think it's simple enough that I was able to just kind of copy and paste the whole thing. Don't think that that is a particularly good idea on the ST side, because the ST side is a little bit more complicated. And I would expect the ST side to become big. Lots and lots of code on the ST side. I would expect not to see a whole lot of code, and any code that is on the 3 side to be extraordinarily like terse and obvious. I think any of the weird complications that might need to be done should mostly be handled on the ST side. So let's go to the ST service. The first thing it looks like is we are going to use the inject, and that's because we need to use the recyclable sequence service. So this is how we determine what our ID is going to be, and we need to include its doppelganger. And the reason it's ThreeJS doppelganger, and the reason we need to do that is because at this point over here we'll actually have it create a scene, and then we'll get a reference to this, or create a mesh, and then we'll get a reference to the mesh here. So I think that makes sense, and I think it was good to sort of just lock that sort of in. I believe I'm already getting injectable. I believe injectable is necessary, so that it's a decorator, so that this whole function can be used by the injector, the Angular injector. Speaking of the Angular injector, I did finish up the Angular documentary yesterday. I thought that was very good. I think the only thing they left out, and I'm absolutely amazed at like how honest they were about a lot of things, especially about a lot of the politics and stuff inside of Google. I would never have ever guessed some of the things that happened within Google with respect to Angular. But I was absolutely amazed by it. I thought it was great. I think they left off the one piece, and I thought that they were very, very dishonest because they gave the impression that you would easily be able to upgrade. And I don't know if it was them or somebody else, but there was a lot that went out there like, hey, you can just run this script and it'll upgrade your Angular JS application to Angular TypeScript. And I do think that Angular JS and Angular TypeScript were so dramatically different in not just in like how you do it and all that, like implementation, but I thought they were very dramatically different in like who the audience is. I think Angular, TypeScript Angular that I'm doing here is a fully enterprise thing. It's just for the enterprise. And I really wish that they would have called it like Angular Enterprise. And then I wish they would have like forked off AngularJS and said, hey, you know, AngularJS is a thing for learning, for small projects, utility projects, things like that. But if you want to build like a very scalable, huge application, you want to do Angular TypeScript, Angular Enterprise. I think that would have been better. So anyways, we do need the recyclable sequence, but we don't want the scene service. We want the mesh service. And that is going to come from 3mesh mesh service. And then we want the typing, the strong typing from the interfaces. And one of the things that I believe that we've had to do, so let me go ahead and this would be a good time to do it, is we go to the interface itself and we need, oh, we already have an ID. So that is good. Actually, I think I did that a whole video on just doing that. All right, so I think that looks good. I think everything makes sense. I think we have a solid grasp of every line of code here. And this is the last one of these that we're doing, so I think this is our last chance to really get just a solid grasp of everything that's going on. So I've been thinking a lot about this movie called Click with Adam Sandler, and he kind of, it's about like this person has a remote control and they could like sort of skip forward in their life and just skip all the boring parts. I feel like we do a lot of coding like that where we're not really engaged in understanding what we're looking at. And since we do that, by the time we wake up and we re-engage, we're kind of like lost. And that's the thing I'm trying to avoid here. I want to be super engaged for every line of this code. So let's go to our ST mesh service and we're just going to paste these. So I did click out there for a second. And now I need to re-engage. Okay, so we need the recyclables, but this isn't going to be the scene dictionary. This is going to be the mesh dictionary. And then this, we aren't bringing in the scene service, we're bringing in the mesh service. And that is not of type scene service, that's of type mesh service. And then we are not injecting the scene service, we are injecting the mesh service. And really, a lot of what I'm doing there is like just practicing talking. Because talking and coding heads down silently are very, very different experiences. All right, so I feel like every line here makes total sense. I think it's time to move on to the actual implementations. And I think for the most part, I generally have like something that returns a dictionary item and that one has been, there's no real complications to that one. So let's go ahead and do that one first. Wow. So we're going to go to, yeah, that's a good idea, huh, Rhett? So that's this function. Service, and then so I want to get the mesh by ID, and it's going to return an ST mesh, and the name of this thing is going to be a mesh. It's an, I don't know why I want to make everything from ST to empty mesh. And it gets it from the mesh dictionary. And ST S mesh dictionary, and we return our mesh. And I do think that makes a lot of sense. And now what we want to do is, this is probably the hardest part. It's not particularly hard though. So we want to create our base mesh. And this one is a little harder because a mesh is two pieces. So this scene is, or it's going to be three things. It's going to be the mesh ID. I think it's going to be the geometry and the material. So those are the three things that's going to be in that. So boom. Create base mesh. Scale to 1 to 10. That is a 1, and I would say that it was would be very easy to just go on autopilot at this point. We're going to call that a mesh ID. We're definitely going to need a mesh ID, and we want an ST mesh is what we want to name it, and we want it to be of type ST mesh. And a mesh has a ST mesh ID, I believe. And the name of this is not scene ID, it is mesh ID. And then this is a problem. I wish it kind of gave the drop down here, like tell me what I need. So I think up here there's a way. It's kind of weird. Exists on type. I feel like it would have given me, but I believe the next thing is an ST geometry, maybe. Yep, geometry, and this is our geometry, and we want to say, I guess we also need to bring in our geometry service. So, and this is going to be our ST geometry service. So, and this is why I think it's important to name things in a way, because it would be very easy to get confused here. So this thing is ST, I believe it's geometry service, which is a ST geometry service, and we're going to want to inject it, and we want to inject ST geometry service, and it did bring it in from us, and it looks good. Okay, and we're also going to need, while we're at it, we're going to need our ST material service. An ST material service. ST material service. Now, I must have done that one wrong. I'm guessing, I'm assuming I did something wrong here. So I just, oh no, what is the name of this? Yeah, ST material service. Did I misspell something? Like, it's so funny that it didn't sort of behave the same way as the geometry service. For some reason, it was able to find the geometry service without any problem. Maybe there's a spelling issue here. What did I misspell? That's weird. Or maybe I just didn't look. Maybe it did have, well, so before it just automatically did it. It didn't give me it didn't make me hit the little blue button and all that. All right. So now I think I could probably get an ST geometry service. I think that's what I said. This dot ST geometry get base geometry. And unfortunately, that's not going to work, right? Because I need the ID. No? Is that, yeah, I think get base, no geometry. I didn't want the ID by ID. And I want it to be base. Oh, create base. Now what is this complaining about? Okay, so that all that will do is return an ID. So I actually want to get the ST actual geometry. I don't know, now that I'm thinking about it, is that what I want? Geometry. ID is equal to, do I want an ID or an actual reference to the geometry? That's a good question. Probably want an ID. But let's just do this for the moment. This dot st geometry service dot get geometry by ID, and we get an this is a tough one because I'm thinking, I think what I want is just the geometry ID, not necessarily the whole geometry. But I just can't quite grasp it all in my head at the moment. Okay, I think I'm going to change that to an ID. So let's go to stmesh. This might end up being a huge mistake. I am just not sure. Oh, we need our position too. Wow. Okay. So I'm going to change this to ID. ID. Oh man, we have a lot to do actually. Make this a number. Make this a number. I forgot we have to do animations too, which will just be blank for now. But now let's go back to here. And ID, and then instead of that, we'll just call it directly because this returns the ID. I totally forgot about the animations. And we don't want this. And then we want to get our mesh ID. Our material ID. ST animations. And what else? It's upset about something else. So that is interesting. Apparently, you know, honestly, animations shouldn't be required for a mesh. A mesh shouldn't. Well, it should be able to be an empty array, though. It's saying, no, you have to have an array. So I think there's something I want to deal with here. Animations. I don't understand that. Why? This is saying that it can't be an empty array. I mean, it can, right? Because I can just do this. I'm pretty sure I can say const st animations is an st animation array, and that is equal to an empty array. Yeah. And then, since it's the same name, I don't have to. But it's still upset. ST number ST position, and oh, that's silly. No, okay, so I was wrong. That was not what it was complaining about. What it was complaining about was that there are a couple other things that couple other things that I need, and that is an X, Y, and Z position. So st position colon, and I think it's going to be X, stx colon 0, sty colon 0, stz 0, and then comma, and then we want, I think, st rotation, and the same thing. So by default, everything is going to go to 0 because this is our base mesh. All base meshes find themselves at 0. Now we have that. All right, so now we want to actually create an actual ThreeJS mesh. So the reason why I know it's ThreeJS is because it doesn't say ST here. If it said ST here, we would know that we're creating an SE, which is this thing. So, and I'm only saying that out loud because I want to you know, like kind of enforce that in my brain. The more you say it, sort of the more you will it into existence, I guess, would be a good way of putting that. Now, this ST mesh and 3 mesh. I guess I don't have one over at ST mesh, so I need to add that. I need to add a optional 3 mesh. So colon, which is of type 3, which it doesn't know what that is. And, oh gosh, that's so annoying. So now let's see if we can do this from memory. Import star from 3 from as 3 from 3. And then I don't remember what, I think this is a 3 mesh. And let's just double check that because sometimes that's not right. So we're going to double check that by checking our code that is not long for this code base. It actually creates an actual mesh. Oh, that totally broke this. Okay, it is a mesh and it needs the geometry and the material in order to create it. I'm assuming. But yeah, I wonder what our 3 mesh service does. Okay, it just creates one. It doesn't care about that stuff. So it is 3 mesh, so we'll do that. And then mesh service, create mesh ID, 3 mesh is equal to that. And this is going from mesh service. And I actually do want an actual reference to the 3 mesh. I just think that's going to make the code a little bit easier to deal with. But I might be wrong. I might want to just always have to get it by ID. So and then scene dictionary. It's st mesh dictionary. And then mesh ID. This is where we save it in our dictionary. And we return our mesh ID. And we still have a problem up in here. Mesh. I don't know what the problem is though. Did I make the ST mesh optional? I don't think I did. I think that's the problem. Yep, I didn't make it optional. Alt and left arrow. Okay, so this is all happy, but we got problems. We got problems. Let's see where we are on time. It is 8:20. Yeah, I still have some time this morning to work on this. I don't like to walk away from code while it's actually straight up broken. I will though if I have to. I guess that's going to be. So the problem here is that we are setting the geometry. Okay, but you know what? I don't care. I'm just going to make this a number. So my SG geometry. So it's weird that it didn't break last time. Yeah, so it's up here too. I almost feel like changing this. I wonder if I could just change this to an any. I don't know if this is bringing me any value anymore. See, because right here, what I have is my width. But it's saying, hey, an ST seam doesn't have an actual geometry. It has a geometry ID and all that. So what if I said, what if I call this an any? I just want to get this working now. So any. So that goes away. So what's still broken? And let's see, what if so I think this was like 0.75. Let's go up here. 0.75, 0.5, and 3. So what if I just hard code those numbers in there now? And this is kind of like what I was talking about with like practical reality, like the practical reality of the value of this code is going to zero very quickly. So trying to maintain it, code that is literally just going to be, as soon as we can, I'm just going to copy all, I'm just going to select all this code and just delete it. Let's see what we got. Well, it seemed to have compiled. Everybody seems to be happy now. So yeah, so I disabled all the strong typing over here because I don't really care about this. We literally have just finished this, and what we're trying to do is basically emulate this without the animations up there. So there's really no value to this. The only thing that was the reason this was valuable before, the strong typing on this was valuable before, is it sort of enforced the discipline of to us for me to be able to like create something that works. But now that I have something that works, there's no reason to maintain it anymore. Anyways, so that is that. Wish me luck today. I hope tomorrow I'm not going, oh, I can be as long as I want because I got pissed off and quit my job yesterday. Hope that doesn't happen, but you know, it's always possible. Happy coding, everybody. Bye.